For more on the state of South Africa's water infrastructure management, we're now joined by UNISA Professor Richard Meissner, and he joins us now via our video link. Professor, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. Now, of course, water challenges have been around for quite some time, but it seems as if South Africa is really experiencing water problems on a larger scale. What are the problems associated with our water infrastructure?
Yes, like some of your, in the previous clips, the spokesperson of Johannesburg Water indicated, we may not be experiencing load shedding anymore, but power cuts are a reality. I mean, we've seen this before with City Power's Orlando substation tripping. I think it was last year, February, it interrupted water supply to or electricity supply to the Eikenhof pump station, which couldn't pump water to the Johannesburg reservoirs, and then now also in Fulini without power. So there's a complex number of factors playing their role. I mean, it's not only about electricity, but it's also about the aging infrastructure. And we all know about the aging infrastructure. Just this Friday, I was with the Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation at Hartbeespoort Dam, and Mr. Seglolo indicated that is a problem, and it is at the municipal level that is a problem. And therefore, the Department of Water and Sanitation is planning on, it's already in the process of reforming the Water Services Act and related legislation.
Now, Professor, I mean, you are naming a number of issues that we are faced with as a country, and you're right. There was a time when load shedding was a major problem in our country and subsequently affecting the supply of water to our homes. But at the same time, for years now, we've heard this issue around ailing infrastructure. And it seems as if, infrastructure has also been put to blame on this. Would you say that the biggest challenge here is aged infrastructure in our country?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, there's a myriad of problems contributing to the situation, the water situation in many areas. It's not only Johannesburg, eThekwini's, some of their suburbs are also frequently sitting without water, like Phoenix and Queensborough. Even in rural areas like Winnie Mandela, the former Brandfort in the Free State, they also sit with frequent water cuts. And it's not only the aging infrastructure. One of my students is employed by Johannesburg Water, and I had conversations with her where she tells me that they replace infrastructure on a daily basis, fixing leaks. But their problem is that they don't have enough staff to attend to those problems. And apart from infrastructure or aging infrastructure, I mean, we also need to take into consideration consumer patterns, water consumer patterns or water consumption patterns. The spokesperson of Joburg Water indicated that there was high demand for water, and it is not unusual. We've had very good rains. Valdam is over 60% filter capacity, and yet we sit with water shortages. And also, to come back to the consumer issue, we find a lot of, we know that there are a lot of illegal connections, and even which boils down to theft of water. And we must realize by now that we are a water scarce country, and our water consuming behavior should be in lockstep with that situation. So there's also on the consumer side, there are also a number of issues.
So do you think that, the behavior of consumers also needs to change in this regard? Because, I mean, this is something that, Joburg Water has continuously pointed out to, particularly with the residents of Gauteng.
Yes, I think yes. There clearly is a need for some other behavior change, and I'm not saying that everybody wastes water. But if you look at illegal connections and water theft and vandalism, it's not the water consumer that commits theft and vandalism of water infrastructure. It's just plain common criminality. But I think that there is something to be said about, our water consumption behavior. When I was with the CSIR, we conducted a study, it was about 10 years ago, in all the major metros, and that was one of the issues that we highlighted. And it's very interesting that when you have good rains, the water consumption is high because there is there's enough water, or there's a perception of enough water in our large dams, especially Fall Dam, and then people fall back to their old water consumption behavior. But during a drought, it takes some time for people to change their behavior. But I think that there is a need for a more permanent, let's call it a behavioral change, and that can only come through active and intensive and, I would say, aggressive awareness raising. But on the other hand, if you have people consuming less water, your municipalities, their source of revenue decreases because they rely on electricity and water sales as a source of income.
And when it comes to, leakages being experienced, I mean, Rand Water has released statements before talking about leakages in our infrastructure. We've also heard there in that report that for Mangaung, 36% of their water is lost to leakages. What role does leakages play, when it comes to the issues of water in the country?
Oh yes, I think that 36% and 33% on average for Gauteng. That is substantial. I mean, if you pump 100 liters of water, then 33 liters goes to waste. It ciphers into the ground, or runs down the street, and they can be either long onset leaks, or they could be pipe bursts. 2 weeks ago here in Hartbeespoort, where I stay, we had a major pipe burst because of the pressure regulating valves that failed. I took a picture of that leak, and it was a substantial volume of water that ran down the road, but the municipality was very quick to close the valves, and the next morning they fixed the problem. So it depends on the size of your leak, and also for how long that leak has been in that pipe. I mean, you can have a small leak, but nobody will detect it, and will go on for years. So leaks have a substantial impact on water, on your water availability, and also the non-revenue water mentioned.
Will be around for South Africans?
I didn't hear the first part of your question.
How long are we going to be experiencing, these water challenges in the country?
Okay. Yes, I think for still quite some time. How long exactly, I can't tell you. We must remember that we've had 9 years of state capture. And ironically enough, the Lesotho Highlands Water Project has been delayed for 9 years, the exact same time that we have had state capture. Now, in certain parts of the country, I mean, down in the Cape, they're doing quite well, except when they have a major drought like they had between 2015 and 2018. And there are some promising signs. I mean, in the State of the Nation address, the president announced that they will start with a white paper on how to restructure the municipalities, especially their service delivery with respect to water. And that will only start this year, because the SONA, many people think it's a list of promises, but it's actually not. It's to outline the objectives of the government in the coming year, and it's also to officially open the parliament. So that's going to take some time, and if it has the desired effect, I think in the next, let's call it 5 years.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for your time there and for that insight.